the Porsche IMSA GT3 Cup Challenge by Yokohama, a two-class challenge series for emerging talent and enthusiast racers. Platinum, the fastest class with the newest Porsche 911 Carrera GT3 Cup race cars. Gold, for 911s from 2009 model year and older. And within those two classes, a Masters Championship battle ensues. That's for drivers aged 45 and older. Tyres are from Yokohama, race cars are from Porsche. Setup is critical, but talent and racecraft are how you win. Every second counts. No mistake goes unpunished. Drivers aren't pros, but this isn't amateur hour. All of Porsche's factory races started in a series just like this. It's the largest single-make series on the planet. This is the Porsche IMSA GT3 Cup Challenge presented by Yokohama.
And the field coming up, you see them bypassing the chicane as we are looking for the green flag to get this 11th round of the IMSA GT3 Cup Challenge by Yokohama underway. We are green. Sloan Uri, good start moving in, but a nice move there. Madison Snow trying to get that inside, take it away from a great start. No, is he going to be able to do it? He's down to the inside. Jeremy side by side at the exit of 2.
That was a very tight start there, but a great getaway by Sloan Uri there. The pressure for him, no problem. The 21-year-old, first ever pole position in this championship. He's really come on strong in the last few races, driving for effort racing, and that was a tremendous getaway. Look at that. He's already got about 8 car lengths over the second place car of Madison Snow.
Well, there was some good battling for that second spot, and Madison had to go a little bit defensive, a little bit of a take there, but getting away with it. One of the NGT cars a little bit further back in the field, that might have been Dewerson, as they're coming up right there. Good run, Dewerson in that number 27, but Uri making good his escape, and one of the true speed cars, I think that may have been Brett Sandberg, who got the start of the race, leaping up from the 8th spot into 3rd, Jeremy.
Yeah, and challenging for 2nd, wasn't he, on that first lap? Just an amazing getaway by Brett Sandberg, another youngster who's really taken to the cars well this season. He's still looking for his first win, as is Sloan Uri, in fact. But what a great start that was by him. And Sandberg there in 3rd place. And Madison Snow there, he's kind of all on his own, isn't he? He's got about 10 car lengths before and after him. But he's now going to set his sights on Sloan Uri and try to whittle away that advantage that Uri has got on this first lap.
Uri completing that lap onto the front straight. Now they have to run the chicane, and it is a car breaker. But these cars, look at that, getting those inside right side tires up and over the curb, gets them up in the air, and lots of different approaches to that chicane. And we got our first bit of contact. Bodywork flying, didn't quite see the car. We'll notice it in a minute when we see that head-on shot. But those tires were going to take some abuse.
I think that was Eduardo Cisneros in one of the NGT Motorsports cars, car number 29. I fancied what it was that clipped that tire pretty hard on the exit of that chicane. We're going to see now whether there's any damage to the front of that car. We've seen it time and time again this season. The Porsches are susceptible to front-end damage. The radiators are down in those corners on the front of the car, and any sort of solid impact there can damage those radiators, and it's not going to be long after that before your race comes to an end.
That is your 4th place car right there, the 41 of Mike Mills. He is the 2nd of those blue entries, teammate to your leader, Sloan Uri, those beautiful blue effort racing machines. And right behind him sits the 44 of Dave Ostella, also having a superb start in his true speed entry, qualified that 7th up into 5th as we have completed a lap and a half of this very tricky complex here. It's sort of an S's in a chicane-like form, leading you onto this pit straight.
That was a great first lap from Sloan Uri. It really was. He pulled out almost a second and a half over Madison Snow, who got around Angel Benitez. And Benitez really must have made a bad start. He's back in, well, he's not outside the top half a dozen here. So he really made a poor getaway there for NGT Motorsports. It's Angel Benitez and Madison Snow that battling for this championship. Just 9 points between them coming into this weekend. 6 races to go in the championship.
Number 14, yeah, problem for him, down into the pits early, and this is sprint type racing, folks. You're in the pits, you're out of it, and a tough day, qualified 4th.
Yeah, the youngster, this is his best ever qualifying, actually, equaled his best ever qualifying. He's 4th on the grid also at Mazda Raceway in Laguna Seca earlier in the season. It's a small team, a family-run team. Colin done a really fine job to qualify there in 4th position, so what a disappointment to that little team to be in the pits so early on.
Boy, and I'll tell you, after Uri and Snow, that battle for 3rd on back is a train.
Yeah.
these two guys have made good their escape, and I think it may have been Dewerson actually that caught that tire barrier, perhaps looking like a little bit of damage to that car just now going into, getting a little bit of a tap from Benitez. And Benitez has to be frustrated because Madison Snow was very concerned about just getting through this race. After the crash he had in the practice session, car wasn't where he wanted, or in the qualifying session, said, well, I don't know what kind of car I'm going to get. I'm not sure it's going to be what I need to really race Angel here. I need to just hang tight. We've got a challenge.
David
nice
Estella,
move there.
Down the inside, David Estella, the young Canadian, stepping into this car. That's the car that's been driven by Phil Fogg Jr. in the last few races. Now carrying the Entrust sponsorship. That was new for the last round at Road America on this particular car. Phil Fogg not able to make it here this weekend. So David Estella, the young Canadian, raced here before. One of the few drivers on this field to have raced here before, racing Indy Lights open wheel cars before now, but he's making use of that experience here to now get up into the top half, into the top 5.
Yeah, he runs very frequently in the Canadian Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge, so very familiar with the machinery, of course, and giving it a very competitive run. Once he got around Mills now, he has actually opened that up to the tune of about 5 car lengths in a big hurry.
He certainly has. He's pulling away from Mills now and setting his sights on Brent Sandberg. So that's the 2 True Speed Autosport cars running in 3rd and 4th. It's Sloan Urry for Airfoot Racing out in front. Then Madison Snow in a Wright Motorsport Snow Racing entry in 2nd place. Then the 2 True Speed cars. Here they are coming down into turn 1 and down to the inside under braking. That is Craig Dewerson also making a move on Michael Mills.
Boy, putting those Yokohamas to the test, back into that car, rotating around as he had to pinch down to the apex. Beautiful car control, slid underneath, made it work. He's been showing some tremendous driving form. Getting a little tap there from Mills.
Didn't like it, did he?
Yeah, apparently not. Mills apparently thought he was a little slow mid-corner there and said, let's pick that up a little bit. Tricky corner, this one. Turn 4 off of that wide lane into a very narrow stretch here leading toward the pit lane.
Yeah, there's not much of a sight line through that corner either, so it really is, you've got to nail your turning point to that corner. Just get right, just make sure you don't hit the wall on the inside before tracking out to that concrete wall on the outside. So absolutely no room for error there whatsoever.
Lots of places on this track. This is what you would call an old school track. Well, for a minute there I thought we were going to see another attempt from Benitez trying to get by Mills. I think Benitez thinks he's a little quicker, and he certainly wants it here. Looks to the inside now, down into this, made it work. Beautiful pass, and Benitez is through now, trying to charge back up and salvage something in terms of points.
Yeah, Michael Mills here is certainly slipping back. He qualified in the 5th position, made up a place or 2 at the start, but now he's slipping back down through the field. The next guy in his sights will be Casey Coolman, who is 2nd of the Masters contenders. That's the drivers over 45 years of age, slightly more experienced out there. It's Craig Dewerson who's the best place of those guys at the front, and here's a problem here for Rafael Benitez. So this is Angel Rafael Benitez, which is the other Angel Benitez's father. This is Benitez Sr., who's got a problem down there with his car.
Yeah, hasn't run the full season this year, but some sort of an issue with this one, making it a bit difficult for him as well. But I'll tell you what, in a way, now he could get out and watch his son go to work. And I'll tell you, that is something special to see, some tremendous racing. Boy, I'll tell you what, those 2 True Speed cars have really started to find their own here as they sit now in a very competitive situation. Good racing a little bit farther back in the pack. 37, that is another of our Masters competitors, but in the gold category, Dave Williams for TPC Racing.
Yeah, right behind this, there's the second and third place cars there in the gold category. Gianfrancesco and David Williams. In the middle of these two, car number 24, that's Mark Yano. He's a veteran, drives for the NGT, and Circuit Racing is his sponsor. Well, he's a military veteran, and he has a very cool program that he's been running all the way through season. He uses his racing. This is his first season of professional racing, and he uses his racing to promote some fantastic causes, Greg.
Well, and he's got one here this weekend. You can see on the side of the car, the scheme he has is "We are full course caution." We've just had a caution come out, and it is for Angel Benitez Sr., who is just parked down there. And that, you can see all those tires. That means that is an impact zone and a runoff area. And so that's an area that you've got to get him moved if another car has a problem. That's where they might just end up. So that is a problem. So we are under a full course caution here on the streets of Baltimore. Let's see if we can give you a look at what may have unfolded there. Watch for it. Down, here we go. Trying the outside move, just a little bit too much steam, Jeremy.
Yes, quite a bit too much steam now. Then we had some sort of an issue with the car. because he certainly left his braking late, but he didn't lock him up. I don't know. Hard to say what happened there because he didn't hit anything. That's the good news. So no extensive damage on the car. He went down into the escape road and he kind of bailed out there. But the good news is there's no damage there, and it won't take him long to get this car out of the way. But certainly a shame for Andres Senior here because he's had a couple of good runs lately.
Absolutely it does. This time single file restart, so they have to run through the chicane. Uri brings him onto the front straight, but Snow very close. Sandberg wanted to be racing. Remember, Sandberg came from 8th to 3rd, but that was in the double file original start. Everybody clears the chicane and the race is on. Sandberg looking to the inside, forcing Madison down to defend. Madison going to try and get down the inside and take that lead away from Uri. Uri stays put. Beautiful piece of driving by Uri around the outside, Jeremy, and he hangs on to the lead.
Smart driving by both of those two. They each gave each other racing room there, and there was no contact, no harm, no foul. But Uri has just overstepped. He going to turn 3, left his braking just a little bit too late, and around comes the back end of the car. He spins. We have a new race leader.
And it is Madison Snow, who is pretty comfortable in that position. Meanwhile, Dewerson working his way, and Benitez making the pass, trying to move up as well. And boy, I'll tell you, that was huge. Uri opening that door, Madison Snow, that points lead with Benitez back a little bit. That is crucial for Madison Snow. Boy, for a guy who had a pretty good shunt, and they had to really work and thrash to get that car rebuilt, has put together a great opening few laps, back end stepping out right toward the wall onto the pit straight, and he leads, but Sandberg is looking awfully racy here.
Yeah, what a shame for Uri there, because he'd done a super job on the first corner. He came under intense pressure from Madison Snow, and then going into the hairpin at turn 3, just left his braking just a tad too late. Couldn't quite hold on to the back end of the car, but now Madison Snow, he's exactly where he needs to be. He's already this season won 4 of the 10 races. As we talked about a few minutes ago, he's got a 9-point advantage coming in to the championship, but now his main rival, who was back in 6th place, is now up into 4th, and Benitez certainly is going to try and make his way forward and maybe try and put some pressure on Madison Snow. But Snow now, he's just got to, he knows he's got a fast car, he knows he's got experience, he hasn't raced on this track before, but he's a very fine young driver. And when I say young, I mean young, just 17 years of age. And incredibly, this is he's been racing Porsches for 3-4 seasons.
Annoyingly young, yes, for the success he's been able to put together, but boy, does he have it right. And you know what, the guy that he's just leading in the points by those scant 9, Benitez, also 4 wins, but the story is Madison has a couple more podiums, and that is what has opened that margin up for him. And keep in mind, we have, including this race, 6 to go in the championship, 9 points when you get 20 for a win is nothing. This is a very close points battle.
Yeah, it certainly is, and you need to be scoring consistent points in this championship. Both of those two guys, both Madison Snow and Angel Benitez Jr., they both had 2 poor finishes in the championship, and yet they're still out ahead of everybody else because everybody has had some poor finishes, which is kind of unusual in this series. Oh, well, there's a problem for that. Is that Benitez?
That is Benitez. 25 is the number, and he is at a crawl. Something has, oh, this is horrible for that championship.
It certainly is. That's he's clearly got a major problem. Something dangling below the car there on the right-hand side. Maybe he's had an accident go.
Well, we have talked about just how incredibly bumpy. Clearly, he knows it's terminal too, doesn't he?
He does, and he's actually pulling it. That's after the pit lane there, so he's pulling directly into the paddock area where the cars are parked, and he knows his race is over, and potentially too disastrously his championship aspirations also.
What a great shot, up close, zoomed in as these cars work that very tricky and rough chicane. And watching them funnel through, there's Madison Snow. And folks, you see all of that black, that's tire rubber down, but it's in a heavy braking zone, and it's not just gets black and stays dark all the way to the apex. It's dark then light then dark then light. That tells you this is a bumpy surface. The cars are compressing and releasing over those bumps, and the rubber that's being deposited down is heavy and then light and heavy light. Just a real clear indication that entrance to turn 1 is incredibly rough and bumpy, and you've got to really be good on your braking because you've got to modulate that pedal all the way through there to not lock up and skate wide.
Yeah, that's right. It's a fine balancing act on this racetrack. I mean, parts of the track are fairly smooth. This area here is actually pretty smooth. Into this tight chicane here. Now we go literally across the railroad tracks there. It's amazing what they do to prepare this racetrack. There's generally a light rail trying that runs right through the track there and across on Pratt Street as well. And then that particular area, they're able to completely pave over. It's about a foot of asphalt they laid down. They did that on Thursday afternoon. They'll rip it up again after the racing is completed on Sunday. And it's just an amazing job they're able to do that. And that asphalt there, it doesn't get ripped up by the race cars. It stays down. It does the job perfectly. It's a remarkable piece of engineering.
Yeah, they've come up with a nice formula, that's for sure.
And here in the foreground here, the exit of the chicane, you can see as Madison comes, the snow comes through here, you can see how his car leaps over those railroad tracks there. Whoa! And over the curbs. Well, that was Greg Dürsen who hit that final curb a little bit too hard. It's very tricky balancing out, particularly through that corner. And then when you get on the rail tracks as well, that tends to throw the car sideways. So it really is, it's a car control clinic that these guys are putting out there at the moment. Particularly Madison Snow's now beginning to put this bit of a gap between himself and Brett Sandberg in second place.
Well, that's exactly why that chicane is there, is you cannot do the same paving job you talked about over in that pit lane area because Pratt Street's such a major thoroughfare, so they had to put the chicane in. Otherwise, cars, especially some of the other cars running here on this weekend at the Grand Prix of Baltimore, catching significant air because of the speeds they were carrying and the lack of travel. So pretty intricate the way that they've had to unfold this, and you are right, Madison Snow really starting to clock some laps right now. Last time a 137.5 compared to Sandberg's 38.1, so around a half a second in these last couple of laps he's been able to open up. There's a look at Mike Levitas, and you can see running the Porsche of Towson on that car. He's got another guy that's racing as a teammate here with that same sponsorship, Ben Keating, running in this. Ben, of course, is also running in the American Le Mans Series GT Challenge category here this weekend, so he's looking for any extra seat time he can get. But Mike Levitas doing a nice job.
Indeed, and Ben Keating, he's looking to get some more experience because he'll be running also in the GTC class, the American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron a little later this afternoon. But here is Michael Levitas. There is one of the NGT cars going slowly, but now this is Sloan Uri, car number 20, coming up now behind our gold class leader. And Michael Levitas, he's a local guy, he's from right here in Baltimore. And David Williams, his teammate, he's from locally as well, from Annapolis in Maryland. So, or is it the wall again?
He just got a little offline, and I think he may have picked up some clag. Now he's got I think he broke the suspension on that left front corner. That's the 29 of Eduardo Cisneros, having some struggles as well. Just limping. It looks like he may have some damage to the right rear corner of that car. Wow, there's a look at Keating. This is coming through, but suddenly lots going wrong. And I just think offline, you've got all of the spent tire rubber. You've also got leaves from the overhanging trees, and the grip goes away, and suddenly you've got nothing to hold you where you need to be.
And here's a change. We've got Michael Mills, who's managed to find a way past Craig Dürsen. That's a battle for 4th and 5th places. Now coming up towards the pit lane complex, this little chicane before the pits. Michael Mills gets on the brakes a little bit too late. The car steps sideways, but he does keep it under control. But he has got himself ahead now of Craig Dürsen.
Great comeback drive by Mills. Not that he was ever that far back, but you get behind a guy named Dürsen and get your way back around. You're finding things, and it is possible that some of these cars now, they may have had just a slightly different setup on the cars, and as this race is getting longer in, the tires, as good as these Yokohamas are, and they're amazing, they get overheated, you can abuse them and the like, and the deeper you run, maybe the balance is coming good for some of these guys, and they're going to get stronger in this latter half of the race, essentially.
That's true, yeah. It's a long race, it's 45 minutes, it's not a little sprint race, so that's a good run here by Michael Mills to get himself back into contention. But now Craig, Mills, straight lines to chicane, and he's got to make sure that he doesn't, he's shown here not to have gained any advantage. Because by shortcutting the course there, that certainly gives you a big advantage over the guy who might be trying to get a toe to make a pass. But now Craig Dürsen in that car number 27 in his mirrors is Casey Coolman. Those are the two leading contenders in the Masters class.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. The officials are going to be talking to that team of Mills saying, let him go by, because under pressure like that, you have essentially cut the course. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out at this point as we watch Mills. Has not yet done anything to allow that to get go. It sure has tightened up, as you pointed out, the battle in the Masters class. Dürsen now 5th with Coolman right behind him in that number 15 entry in the 6th spot. And that's going to certainly motivate, I would think, Coolman. Now that he can see Dürsen, he's right there in front of him, knowing that this is a potential win in that category. there's no reason that he's not going to spool it up a little bit more.
No, there isn't. And Casey Coolman, he's been a very consistent performer this year. He's done a super job. He's won the Masters class in 4 races, and all bar the first 2 races of the season, he's been on the podium, first, second, or third in the Masters class. And that's what has enabled him to pull out a 10-point advantage over Craig Dewson. Dewson's won more races. He's won 6 times coming into this weekend, but he's had a few poorer finishes as well. So that is what has enabled Coolman to open out a little bit of an advantage. So Coolman, from Coolman's perspective, he'll be pretty happy here to follow Craig Dewson. He'll only lose out 2 points here. With 5 more races after this afternoon, he's still in good shape for the championship. But for Craig, you know, he always wants to win.
And one thing that I just love about the way they've got the cameras set up around this track, they've got mics on those cameras. You can hear those tires chirping and working. Now watch, this is Yuri here, and he's just a little bit wide, and you can see he's off of that groove. I think he just ran out of grip. Yeah,
I think you're right here. And you know, rubber gets laid down on the racetrack as the cars sort of turn into the corner here, and off the racing line, it has a lot less grip. And also, there's little bits of marbles of rubber get sort of rolled up off these tires, and they get distributed off the line too. So that makes it even more slippery out there. And I think Sloan Norrie, he got the run on Levitas going up, but that's short straightaway toward Pratt Street. But he run a little bit wide, and then, as you say, no grip, and the car just slid into the wall. And unfortunately, is the end of Sloan's race. So he started from the pole position with tremendous opportunities in this race. It's all gone sour. He's going to have to wait at least one more day, but for that first victory.
Got off in the clay, as they say. You catch you every time. Yes, indeed. He had some great opening laps as well. But right now, Madison Snow hanging on to the lead, but the margin now has come down a little bit. Madison's last lap, a 38.5, 1 minute 38.5. Sandberg at a 38 flat, and has brought that back now to under 3 seconds. So looking very good. As a matter of fact, David Ostella sitting in that 3rd spot, actually running a little bit quicker than Madison as well. So that margin is pretty good one. It's a second between Sandberg and Ostella.
Yeah, and as you can see the margins here coming down into turn 1. There is Madison Snow. He negotiates turn 1 and turn 2 now down toward the hairpin. And there's about a 3-second gap back to Brett Sandberg. And as you see now, there's a good 8 or 10 car lengths between those 2 True Speed Autosport cars of Sandberg and Ostella in 2nd and 3rd.
Yep, Snow, Sandberg, Ostella, Mills, and then Dewerson running 5th, leading in the Masters. And Madison Snow continuing to lead here, looking very impressive. A 3-second lead over Brett Sandberg, who's got about a second in hand over teammate David Ostella. Michael Mills running in 4th. That's the number 41 Effort Racing car. And Craig Dewerson continuing to run a very competitive 5th, leading in Masters. However, Casey Coleman right behind him in that battle for Masters and on track. 6th overall. Ben Keating is 7th. Madsen runs in 8th. Mike Levitas leads in 9th and is the leader in the gold category. And Williams sits 10th overall, 2nd in the gold class. And this is a pretty fascinating battle as well. That's the 41 of Mills with Dewerson right behind him and Coleman right there in that Cool Sport Right Motorsports car. Those second 2 cars in your frame behind that blue Effort Racing entry, that's for the lead in Masters in the Platinum category.
It is. It's also for the lead in the Teams Championship as well, between Effort Racing, the car in front here, the car 41, and the silver and orange car behind him of MGT Motorsport. This is a battle of the race for sure. It is for 4th, 5th, and 6th places. And Michael Mills has a pretty defensive line going into the corner, and that compromises exit. That's going to give Dewson a chance to really put the pressure on Mills, but it's not enough of a gap, of a straightaway there to get a move made before that chicane. So then Dewson has to tuck in behind, but now Coolman is right with these 2.
I was going to say, if it wasn't for that chicane, Mills was had. Dewerson was going to get him, but he couldn't get it done. Oh boy, problems continue. The number 24 now, this is Mark Yano again, and he's got over into those tires, but is going to be able to get going and continue. There's a good look at that graphic on the side of the car. He's a former Marine, and boy, I'll tell you, he's having a rough race here today. As you can see, some damage to that right corner. See if we can see what happened here, Jeremy. Coming in here, ooh, he's just wide, and that's going to do it.
Just carried a bit too much speed there under braking and turned it around, and he made some contact with thankfully with the tire barriers before that concrete wall. But it's a shame for Mark, but he's on a steep learning curve this season, and great attitude, and it's just wonderful to see what he's doing for his fellow former veterans. And this afternoon, he's literally going to be giving away a house.
Yeah, it's amazing. With his Circuit Racing team in an organization that's phenomenal called Operation Homefront, with some help from Wells Fargo. There's an Army specialist here who was injured in Iraq during his tour of duty, now stationed in Fort Meade. Joseph Saunders is here with his wife Tara, and during the pre-race for the American Le Mans Series race, they are going to hand him a mortgage-free house, the keys to a home, to say thank you for his service to this country. So absolutely fantastic what Marciano Circuit Racing is doing with that group from Operation Homefront. It's pretty special.
It's absolutely amazing, and they're going to be doing the same, I believe, in the next couple of races, the races that we go to as well at the end of this season. Just fantastic what that group is doing.
Yep, he's looking after his own. That's pretty special indeed. A little bit of a problem racing-wise for him, though, obviously, as he's struggling a bit in the pack. Taking a look here, there.
He's had problems all weekend.
Yes,
he had a problem with the engine, actually, in the very first session today, so he missed the second practice session. So he's certainly behind on his track time, but it is a steep learning curve. But he's got the right attitude and the right approach forward as well. But in the meantime, here is this battle still going on for second and third. Brett Sandberg holding off David Ostella. They're both youngsters. Brett Sandberg he's only 24 years old, 23 years old, from Allendale, New Jersey, and right behind him from Toronto, Canada, is David Ostella. He's just 21 years of age as well. He's making a move from open wheel racing to closed wheel and concentrating, as you were saying earlier, on the GT3 series up in Canada this year, but opportunity came up to join the Truesville Autosport team for this round in Baltimore, and David Ostella said, yes, thank you very much, I'll have some of that, and he's doing a fine job at the wheel of that car.
Boy, isn't he? And you said he's got one of the few people with a little bit of track experience here, and that is going to be huge. I mean, the chicane has been altered a little bit, otherwise the layout of the track very, very similar to what it has been in previous years, so that track knowledge is going to help. Here's that battle again in Masters in the Platinum class, continuing to be pretty strong. Craig Dewerson, that number 27 entry from NGT Motorsports, just having himself a great weekend here in that Tampa Bay Endotronics car. That's the second car in the frame coming right there. And then right behind him is Casey Coleman in the Cool Sport Wright Motorsports entry, that number 15. That's your battle for Masters. And boy, that time though, Dewerson getting through that chicane much better. Coleman actually lost a fair chunk of ground.
So being a dentist when you're racing on a racetrack like this is probably not a bad idea, because this will test the fillings for sure. It's really rough out there. But Craig, he's got his head down now. He's pulled out a bit of a margin again over Casey Coleman, and the same could be said for Michael Mills. He got a bit ragged for a couple of laps there. That was what enabled, well, after he got past Craig Dewerson, but now Michael Mills, he's got his focus back together again. I think now he's pulled out a little bit of a margin over that number 27 Momo car of Craig Dewerson, and now Michael Mills again, he's just got to concentrate on what's happening ahead of him, not what's going on behind him.
Into our final 10 minutes, and that is indeed the great advice, is look forward, the old saying, fold the mirrors down.
Yeah.
Just get into it and drive, and don't worry about what's coming. There's a very up close and personal look at that chicane. You see all of the marks on those tires at the exit of the chicane. We talk about tires on race cars getting abused, tires sitting on race tracks getting a lot of abuse as well. More problems here for Yano. And I wonder that, that was a big off that he had, and he had all that damage to the car, and I think it probably has just knocked that car completely out of whack.
Yeah, but there's no major damage on the car. He's got some bumps and bruises, that's for sure. Yep. And he's learning all the time, is Mark, and he's still running in 11th place actually, because several other cars have had some difficulties in this race. We've had Colin Thompson was out on the very first lap, Angel Benitez Senior who's out, Sloan Urry we've already seen out of the race, and a couple other people having difficulties as well. So Yano is still up into 12th place, and if you can just make sure he brings the car home there, that will actually be his best finish in the championship this year.
Well, he certainly is deserving, as you said. Very new to the sport, doing a nice job with the steep learning curve. That last shot through the chicane, Dewerson, that is what you call a close margin. As he came through, I think that those tires may have moved but I don't know if he even touched him. I think it may have been just so close, the wind off of that car just got those tires. That was as close and as perfect a run through the chicane as we have seen, and that's why Duerson once again was able to close right back up on the back of this beautiful blue number 41 Effort Racing entry of Mike Mills, currently running 4th overall, but it is the battle behind him that is compelling between Duerson and Kuhlman in those two cars. That orange and silver NGT Motorsport entry, and right behind him that white and red and blue Cool Sport entry from Wright Motorsports. And Mills now, they are coming up on some traffic. This can make things interesting, Jeremy.
Yes, indeed. I think that's Danny Gianfrancesco, who's running 3rd in the gold category. He's a lap
Nice
down
job
to the leaders, yeah, and he does a very fine job of staying right out of the way there. It's a white car as they negotiate it. Casey Kuhlman gets through as well, so hats off there to Gianfrancesco. He keeps out of the way. He's kind of running his own race there.
Yeah.
He's not really got anybody to race with at the moment, so from his perspective, just bring it home and get some championship points in the gold category.
One more time through the chicane. Mills leads them in.
Really
Watch Duerson. Boy,
there.
Duerson is so clean and close to those tires. The way he just cuts that margin down, really gets a good run out of the chicane. But Mills was able to get the power down extraordinarily well that time. Stretches that up just a little bit.
Michael Mills is pretty untidy through those.
Yeah.
Really, he hammered those curbs, and you do that too many times. Suspension isn't going to like that too much, but it's certainly hanging on here, and Michael Mills is hanging on in 4th place, and that margin between himself and Craig Just.
Oh, Mills, too high.
Another mistake.
Yep. Got it gathered up, but the question is
it's a workout.
now.
It's a workout out there. I mean, it's a very physical racetrack. It's very hot and humid today as well, because he's from South Texas. He's from the just south of Houston, Michael Mills. So he's used to this sort of weather, but I wonder where it's getting to him a little bit here, because that's 2 mistakes there in kind of 4 corners.
Well, he may be used to the weather, but this track, that all the way from the chicane down until you get back toward that pit straight is violently rough in spots. Yeah, we were, we've talked about it. At the end of a race, you probably feel like you've gone 15 rounds of kidney punches from a heavyweight. It's tough, and you're right. He just may be starting to feel it physically right now.
Yeah, it's the powers of concentration that are required to drive a race car on the limit for 45 minutes are not to be underestimated, let me tell you.
Did you see that? Kuhlman, midway through that corner, the back end stepped out, and that's that one where that wall comes back. Somehow he was able to, 1, make the save, 2, get rid of enough speed that it didn't carry him right into that wall. That was a great save after he had that moment. Here's that study, the bounce. Look at how smooth Duerson is through there. Then the bounce again by Mills. Duerson really has a fabulous line through that chicane. That's quick and also non-abusive to that car.
And consistent too. He's hitting his marks every time. Michael Mills in front of him. He's certainly more ragged. And that has enabled Craig Just once again to close in now as they come around that tight corner at turn 1 through the kick in turn 2. Going down now towards the hairpin in turn 3. This is where Michael Mills left his braking just a little bit too late last time around.
This time he gets it done, and you can
see
Duerson was actually waiting to try the over-under. He was setting up for it, and that time Mills just parked that thing right to the apex. Nice job by Mills. 5 minutes. We are now 5 minutes remaining in this 11th round, again, of the IMSA GT3 Cup Challenge by Yokohama, with that great support from Hertz as well. And there was your overall leader. Here's the great battle for the rest of the podium overall between the 2 teammates in the True Speed entries, number 46, Brett Sandberg, and the number 44 of David Ostella. Both of them young guns doing a superb job.
And hats off really to Madison Snow. He's just doing exactly what he needs to do here. He's got a pretty commanding lead. He doesn't need to win it by half a lap. He just needs to win it by a couple of seconds, and he's managed to control the gap between himself and those 2 True Speed entries at around about 3 seconds. He's got to slow down here to follow the laps car of Angel Benitez Sr. through the chicane. So Benitez did get going again after that spin earlier on. Good composure here from Madison Snow. He's a youngster, just 17 years old. As we see here, a move being made potentially by David Ostella. He's battled with the teammates in 2nd and 3rd. That is hard at it now.
Oh, Ostella was moving way to the inside in the run down into 1. Sandberg had to stay way to the inside to defend. Has to do it again. Ostella clearly a little bit quicker right now. Can he do the over-under? Get that car rotated. Get the power down. Come up. No, it was the lap car is going to help Sandberg out. Watch for Ostella. Can he try the move? Awfully narrow, turning into turn 4. But Sandberg, the back end stepping out. That is going to cost a little bit of speed. Estella thinking about it, but again, a very tricky complex of corners coming up, and Sandberg right down the middle of the track.
Yeah, Sandberg's been very defensive here. There's Cisneros, Eduardo Cisneros, who's made another mistake there at that turn 5 chicane, but he's able to get that car out of the way. But this battle for second and third place is really heating up now, and Sandberg getting defensive in his attempts to keep the David Estella car behind him. He's got his work cut out.
Sandberg is 5th in the points right now. Estella not really in this points run at all, concentrating on the Canadian GT3 championship. But I don't think he's got any qualms at all. He wants to show what he's capable of here. He will race Sandberg furiously, and as you can see, Sandberg has already had to go defensive a couple of times. That little bit of brake lock up again. Now onto the front straight, and let's see. Estella was able to get through that chicane that last lap, Jeremy, very, very well, and get the power down a little bit sooner. Both of them just bounding over that as we are now 2.5 minutes to go, and Estella once again down to the inside.
Yeah, once again, it is Sandberg who adopts the defensive position.
Oh, big lockup. Oh, Jeremy, he just stayed locked, but so does Estella. He floats wide. Sandberg cuts back down underneath. Both of them way beyond the threshold in the brake zone, locking up. And in the end, Sandberg comes out in front and actually gains a little bit.
Great stuff. Great stuff. It was Estella there. So great, this is my chance, this is my chance. He dives down to the inside, but what he didn't realize, he was so tight on the inside that you have to slow the car down even more because you do not have the same arc through the corner when you turn it from the outside. He suddenly realized, uh-oh, I'm going too fast here. But he just about managed to get it wound up and get around the corner. But in the meantime, Sandberg said, phew, I got away with that one. He tucks down to the inside and comes out again in the lead. So it's a change of position there very briefly in turn 1, but it is now again still Sandberg in second place. Estella has it all to do again.
And you can tell these two guys are racing hard, not just from that lockup, but now virtually every tight corner the cars are sliding to the walls.
Yeah.
They are flogging these cars. They are flogging these amazing Yokohama tires, and we are within a minute and a half. So this lap, maybe one more. Sandberg way wide. He had to breathe it to get out of it. Let's see if Estella can get some kind of a run. The problem is you got this right, then this left. Both of these cars, you can see the back end swinging around. Heavy load. Sandberg locks up again. Estella opens it up. Not enough of a run really to try anything down into the chicane. So for Estella, get through the chicane smooth, get the power down early. Ooh, Sandberg, a big bounce. That may be it. White flag is out and Estella's there.
Great stuff. Once again there, Sandberg locking up that left front brake under braking 4, turn 12. And now it's Estella along the on the outside line into turn 1. Can he make it stick?
He's going to try and stay right around the outside. He's got the inside for this little kink, but Sandberg going to try it as well. Almost into the wall. Sandberg going to think about it. Down to the inside. It's a braking duel, and it is won by Estella. Sandberg trying, gives him a little tap. Actually, that just helped. Sandberg goes around. That's it. A little bit too greedy on the throttle, trying to come out, giving it everything he could.
What a great race that was between those two, though. It's only a mistake there by Brett Sandberg, but what a wonderful pass by David Estella. And I think Sandberg, as they went around side by side in turn 1, Sandberg could have kind of forced the issue there, maybe had contact between the two, but yay, they are teammates after all. Even though Sandberg is, he's going for points in the championship, as you said, 5th place in the championship coming into this weekend. So they don't want to be too hard on each other, but finally then Sandberg just got on the throttle a little bit too soon, coming out of that turn 3 hairpin. Around that car goes, so that's going to cost him several positions.
Absolutely, for this young man, just a couple of corners to negotiate, and he will bring it home for his 5th win of the season if he can put it together. One last turn onto the front straight. The chicane awaits, get through there clean. And Madison Snow not only will get that 5th win of the season, Jeremy, but with Benitez sitting back as a DNF, he will expand that points lead significantly. There it flies. The checker is out. Madison Snow and his phenomenal season continues. And look at this. Here we go. This is the battle. This is Mills coming up, and you can see Dewerson able to now open that margin up rather significantly. As a matter of fact, I don't see Coleman at this point. So we'll have to see just what unfolds there. Mills bringing that car across the line, and it looks like Casey Coleman, there he is. He ended up, I think, caught out when Sandberg spun. I think it just caught Coleman out when Sandberg was regathering things a little bit, and it dropped him off. But there is a guy having a remarkable year, and he's got a great future ahead of him in the near future, too. I believe he's going to be going as part of that Porsche Young Driver Academy. Great stuff from Madison Snow.
Yeah, he was invited to be part of the Team USA scholarship program as well. He's really turned a lot of heads this year as Madison Snow. Very mature young man, and that was a great, very mature drive this afternoon. He just measured his performance and turned the laps fast enough to win the race. Great job by Madison Snow.
Enjoying his lap of honor is this young man. And Madison Snow, hand out the window. It's not just waving to the crowd, folks. That's trying to get air into that cockpit. It is very, very warm and humid here. And you know he has worked incredibly hard to earn this 5th win of the season. Madison Snow, a Stella with that marvelous battle with Brett Sandberg right at the end, managing to make the pass, coming home in 2nd. Mike Mills benefiting as well by Sandberg's spin and completing the overall and platinum class podium. 4th overall, Craig Dewerson, another great drive, winning the Masters category once again. And in the 5th spot coming through was Brett Sandberg, recovering. Casey Coleman, 2nd in the Masters class, sits in that 6th spot. Then Ben Keating, then Madsen will be 3rd in the Masters class, 8th overall. And then we've got our 9th and 10th spot. Mike Levitas winning in the Gold Cup with Williams, 10th and 2nd in the Gold Cup, both of them Masters category drivers as well. But what an entertaining race on so many levels, and for Madison Snow, just another fabulous performance. And
a huge points day for him. I mean, not only does he come away, there's his father Martin there, looking at the left front tyre. He's a very accomplished former racer himself. And what a great day this was, though, because he did everything right at the front of the field, won the motor race, and then his closest championship contenders, Angel Benitez Jr. and Sloan Urie, both had problems. Yep. So this is going to give a commanding championship lead now to Madison Snow with just 5 rounds remaining this year.
Round 12 of the Porsche IMSA GT3 Cup Challenge by Yokohama, and it's the 2nd race on the streets of Baltimore. And as the green flag drops, it's drama straight away as Eduardo Cisneros spins, causing an accident. 6 cars involved, and once again the Porsche Panamera safety car is out on the streets. There's big names involved as Gold Class Championship leader Michael Levitas is mixed up in the incident, causing his retirement, and also David Estella and Craig Dewson mixed up in it too. It was better news for Madison Snow though. Starting 10th out of 16 after his qualifying shunt, he'd made up some good positions, and by the end of lap 1 was ahead of his championship competitor Angel Benitez Jr. On the restart, Brett Sandberg set himself up for a dive down the inside to turn 1. At the front, the young guns were having their own shootout. Benitez fought his way back in front of Madison Snow, with Colin Thompson in the mix between the 3 of them. Madison Snow finally makes his move on Thompson, while Brett Sandberg and Benitez are battling it out into turn 1. In some close wheel-to-wheel racing into the braking area, Angel Benitez broke part of his front suspension, retiring him from the race, but Brett Sandberg was able to retain his position. So it's a top step of the podium for Sloan Urie after a perfect race from pole position. Madison Snow in the number 62 takes 2nd place, with Brett Sandberg having another great run and turning it into a 3rd place on the podium.
You know, I kept getting radio communication telling me my gaps. It started out 8 seconds, 10 seconds, 12 seconds, and then by the end of the race it was 18 seconds. So you know, I didn't care how far back they were. I just knew I was going to drive 100% every single lap and finish whatever I finished and hold on to the 1st place.
In the gold category, David Williams of TPC Racing is followed home by Danny Gianfrancesco, and Casey Coleman once again has a victory in the Masters. Terrible race for Michael Levitas, the Maryland native with a lot of supporters on the grounds, failing to see the checkered flag. So as we leave the streets of Baltimore after rounds 11 and 12 of the Porsche IMSA GT3 Cup Challenge by Yokohama, here are the point standings. Madison Snow extends his championship lead and now stands on 188 points. Sloan Urie moves to 2nd in the championship after a poor weekend for Angel Benitez Jr., who's dropped down to 3rd. In Masters, Casey Coleman now leads after Craig Dewerson's last round DNF, and Michael Levitas, despite his woes, still leads in gold. That's it from Baltimore. Join us next time from Austin, Texas at the Circuit of the Americas, for rounds 13 and 14 of the Porsche IMSA GT3 Cup Challenge by Yokohama.